Another weekend of MLS action is here. It's MLS Week 7. Depending where you look, you might see MLS Week 8, but this is the 7th full week of MLS action. So let's go with MLS Week 7 for our MLS predictions this weekend. There's 13 games on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, that one being SKC and Portland. Let's get into our top soccer picks and parlays and MLS predictions for this weekend. Now let's consider a few teams that we're playing in CONCACAF Champions Cup, those being Columbus, New England, and Miami. So they played this week. They'll be playing again next week. Probably safe to maybe steer clear of those teams right now. Teams coming off of a bye, that's New England, but as I said, they did play in the Champions Cup, so they're not going to be as rested as they could have been. Teams on a bye, Orlando this week. This week I've targeted 4 games to split into 2 different bets. Let's get into it. And if you find this MLS content helpful, like the video and subscribe to the channel to get more soccer picks. The biggest game, definitely El Tráfico, LAFC, and the LA Galaxy. It's the first edition of El Tráfico. It's on Saturday. The Galaxy lead the West in first. They're still undefeated, 3-3-0, 12 points. LAFC 9th, 2-1-3, 7 points. Not how you would have seen these two teams in the standings, or at least guessed it before the season started. Both have gone 4-2 to over 2.5 totals. Galaxy games average 3.7 goals per match. LAFC games 3 goals per match. But regardless of the year, the players, or the position or form of the teams in the table, this LA rivalry always sees goals. It's been that way since it started. That's probably not going to change this weekend either. Last year it was 3-2 LAFC on the road in MLS, 2-0 Galaxy on the road in the US Open Cup, 2-1 Galaxy at home in MLS, and 4-2 LAFC at home in MLS. We had 4 meetings, and 3 of those at least saw 3 or more goals. In 21 all-time meetings between them, both teams to score has gone 17-4. If you add the over 2.5 to that, that's 15-7. Simply 3 or more goals have been scored in 16 of those 21 all-time meetings. Now I have a long list that I compiled of the score lines of every meeting they've ever had. Basically, it all looks like both teams scoring over 2.5. But to summarize it, there's been 91 goals scored in those 21 games. That's good for an average of 4.33. But you can make a case for goals in any Galaxy game this season, not just when they play LAFC. The Galaxy won 1-0 last week, but they scored minutes into that game. It could have possibly been more goals, but they had other chances. They were slowed down, though, by a waterlogged field. As soon as I turned that one on and saw puddles all over the field, I knew we might be in some trouble getting Galaxy goals. But prior to that, their scores this season were 3-2, 3-3, 2-2, 3-1, and 1-1. Both teams to score in Galaxy games is now on a 14-1 run, where the average goals in the 14 games prior to last week had been 4.93, that being 69 goals in those 14 games. Galaxy should definitely score. LAFC just lost 3-2 to the usually goal-starved Colorado Rapids last week, albeit after going down a man. But despite the slow start for LAFC, certainly see them scoring at least one themselves. They're at home. They still have Golden Boot winner Dennis Bouanga. Certainly I see a goal from both teams and somebody getting a second one. If I had to pick, I'd probably go the Galaxy here. But let's just go both teams to score over 2.5. That's coming in at -150. That's moved up a bit from -138 earlier in the week. That will just be one straight bet. Let's just cheer on goals in that game and not worry about anything else in a parlay. This next game, though, will be a parlay. 3 games on Saturday night, starting with Minnesota and RSL. 2 of 4 teams on 10 points in the upper echelon of the West, all 2 points back of first place Galaxy. The Loons, minus Emmanuel Reynoso, still looking into getting his green card. Last week had their first setback of the season, losing 2-0 in Philly. It was also just the second time in 21 MLS games they failed to score. Reynoso, not a lot of news on that. Can't seem to find out if he'll be back. Probably safe to say he probably won't be back for this game as well. For the second week in a row, RSL went down a goal. For the second straight week, they rebounded and won. 2-1 versus Vancouver in week 5, 3-1 to St. Louis last week, which saw Chicho Arango score a hat-trick. RSL has now won 3 of 4 games. They've only failed to score once. That was the season opener against Miami. But they've only kept 1 clean sheet, and that was at home to LAFC in a blizzard. Recent meetings have all seen goals between these teams. Last year it was 2 draws, 1-1 in Minnesota, 2-1 in Utah. The year prior it was 3-2 Minnesota and 3-0 RSL. Both teams winning at home. I think both teams will get a goal, at least one, in this game. Let's kick off the parlay. Both teams to score in Minnesota and RSL. Next, Austin and San Jose. 2 poor teams here. Both are off to poor starts this season. Austin are 11th, 1-3-2. San Jose 13th, 1-0-5. The 13 goals allowed by San Jose is tied for the most alongside Chicago in all of MLS. Both teams have scored 7 goals. It's not just this season, though, which has been a struggle for either team. It goes back much further into last year as well. Austin's 2-1 win last week over their rivals Dallas was just their second win since July 15th, or 17 games. They've conceded a goal in 19 of 21, but in scoring a goal in 17 of those games that both teams have scored has been a great bet in Austin games, as that's gone 16-5 in that time. And when they're playing at home at Q2 Stadium, Austin has scored in 15 straight MLS games. The Quakes have won 1 game this season themselves, and it's a similar story where that is just their second win across their last 17 MLS games going back to last season. They too have conceded in 15 of 17, but they've scored in 13 of 17, making both teams to score bets 13-4 in that time. Outside of the first ever meeting between these teams when it was 0-0, every other game between them has seen goals. It was 1-1 and 2-2 last year, and 3-3, 2-2, 4-0, and 4-3 in the other games. This should probably see goals as well, especially for Austin at home versus the San Jose team who will be down. Preston Judd and Jackson Ewell both saw red cards last week. I think this could be a both teams to score, or simply just ask Austin to keep a streak going of scoring at home and ask Austin to get at least 1 goal. And we'll round out this parlay. St. Louis and Dallas. Dallas losers last week to Austin are another struggling team. They're 1-0-4. Their games all see goals. All 5 have gone over 2.5. All 5 have seen both teams to score, with 2-1 score lines hitting 4 times and 1 3-1 score line. But then St. Louis also only have won 1 game, but they also have only lost 1 game too. They've had a ton of draws. They've drawn 4 times. They're scoring. They have 11 goals in those games, but they've allowed goals too, with 11 goals allowed. At 3.7 goals per match, they are tied with Portland, the Galaxy, and Chicago for the most average goals in their matches. Now, that happens when your score lines are a 3-1 loss last week, and prior to that, 2-2, 3-3, 2-2, 2-0, and 2-1. Dallas is missing players, though some might be questionable, could possibly return this week, but they've been without Jesus Ferreira, Asir Irimandi, Paxton Pomykal, Alan Velasco, Giovanni Jesus, and new DP Peter Musa just hasn't made an impact yet. Both teams won at home last season when they played each other. St. Louis 2-1, Dallas 2-0. In St. Louis's 23 all-time home games in all competitions, they've scored in 20 of them. Dallas hasn't kept a clean sheet in 11 straight MLS games and only once in 15 road MLS games. I don't see that happening here either. I think this could be both teams to score. Neither team's been trustworthy defensively. Dallas, though, on the road, missing a bunch of players. Perhaps St. Louis, who is always pretty strong at home, comes out on top in a win. One way or another, I see at least 2 goals. Let's go over 1.5. That parlay will bring us into plus money. St. Louis and Dallas over 1.5. Austin to score. Minnesota RSL, both teams to score, will be plus 148. Over at Caesars, let's ride with those 2 picks and parlays for this weekend. Now, what do you like? Share your picks down there in the comments, whether it be straight bets, parlays, upsets. I'll put the picks in a graphic at the end of this video. Check out more content on shredthespread.com, the Instagram, the TikTok. Consider becoming a member to the YouTube channel to show your support, and good luck with all of your MLS picks this weekend.